This week's episode is brought to you by Audible and Robinhood. We'll hear more from them later, but now on to the show. Well, is the clap chlamydia?
I think so.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know. I was hoping you know. What
Yeah, I guess I've never known.
Yeah, no. I just know that I've gotten a slow clap. I've never gotten the clap. So.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was bad. That's a great way of starting. Welcome back to Movies and Nonsense. I don't know. I need to really write down, because I know on your podcast you actually know what the hell number you're going to talk about. Let's say episode 13. How about that?
13, lucky 13.
Yeah, I'm here with Cody Michael from the SoCo Show. You might have remembered him from a threesome episode that we had earlier on. But Cody, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm stoked to be back on, and ever since that threesome, you haven't been taking my calls, so I was glad that we finally were able to connect.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know that we talked about studying abroad, and I never got to do that, so you guys showed me the Eiffel Tower, but then it got a little weird.
Yeah, there was more cheese involved than we led you to believe.
Cheese whiz in a can. Oh, God. People who are not aware or are maybe familiar with you, because maybe I've picked up a few new viewers, listeners on Movies and Nonsense, kind of fill in a few or the audience, kind of what you do, because you do a lot, but also you're an adult and work at a desk as well.
I do.
So.
Yeah, so my desk job during the day, I'm a financial planner. I work for one of the big banks in the U.S. And the big banks. I work for evil, essentially. If you ask any movie
paycheck,
ever made,
so it's fine.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys. Like, I'm one of those dudes in the Death Star that just walking around having a normal job. That's pretty much what I do. Outside of work, though, I am one half of the SoCo Show podcast. I do that with Seth Ott, who I know has been on this show before, during our threesome episode, as well as on his own. And then I'm also a stand-up comic outside of that. So I work primarily around the Central Oregon area, do a handful of shows a month, doing the stand-up comedy thing. So, and that's sort of the newest thing that I'm into. So that's sort of the main thing I got going on. But the SoCo Show is weekly. I'm sure you'll have links to all that stuff, but, folks that dig you tend to also dig us for some stupid reason. So
yeah, I was gonna say somehow the weird madness of you and Seth and myself, we all kind of eventually merged together, because I don't think I've ever actually touched, or maybe even on the SoCo Show, how we even, I guess, met up, became friends, this weird partnership, if you will.
Yeah.
Because I guess in college, we went to the same college, obviously. Uh-huh. But we were both part of a hip-hop dance club, and you were, like, the head honcho, main choreographer, and I was just like, I want to be cool, too.
Oh, as if I were cool in those days. I think back on those days
Well,
a
it's
lot.
funny because, no, seriously, the first impression, I was like, holy shit, this guy, like, runs this dance club. He's really good at dancing. He knows all these people. He's friends with everyone. And then when I got to know you, I was like, oh, this guy's into the same goofy shit I am. So
I fooled a lot of people into thinking I was cool in college. Oh, it was amazing.
Hey, man, it worked. It definitely did, yeah. But, I mean, because I eventually went through the ranks of dancing, and, choreographer, you were a choreographer and whatnot. But then every weekend just kind of went out and partied, I guess. That was college.
A lot. Holy cow. I think you and I knew each other for several years before we met sober. I think.
Yeah.
We hung out with the same people. We were always kind of in the same area, and we didn't directly interact until we knew each other for like a while. So it was kind of funny. Like, people, if someone asked me the question, like, how did you meet Jared? I actually really don't even know.
Yeah.
we just knew each other after a certain point.
Yeah. I vaguely remember now, like, walking to class, I'd see you and give you like a head nod. But that was like the extent of our interaction. And then like obviously on the weekends when, you know, you're partying with all the same people. But then, I mean, hell, like just the idea or beginning of this podcast, like I definitely got that idea from you guys, because you guys have been doing your SoCo show. Again, shameless plug or whatnot, but you've been doing it for over 2 years, 2.5 years, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll do it's almost exactly 2.5 years. I think July will be our third year, and we've talked about this on your show and ours. We're heavily influenced to start by you starting to do your YouTube reviews. So we have this weird parallel intertwining snake of a story that seems to track back to dance. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's like we're both on the cusp of wanting to do something, and then finally someone takes the plunge, and it's like, oh shit, well he's doing it, let's do it too. Because
Totally.
you guys started with the podcast. Then there's also the ride home that is still on my channel if you go back and watch those.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys have definitely stayed strong, and I would say that the podcast. And I'm not going to sit here and fluff you the whole time and whatnot. But
I'm
your
fluffing
podcast
myself.
is very
That's why I got the
heavily
camera
produced,
where it is.
and it's a very good quality production. So people go check it out.
Yeah, I do. I appreciate that because what I was gonna say is like if people do go onto your channel and watch the ride home videos, I'll do you a favor, Jared, by saying Jared did not shoot or edit those videos, you guys. I don't want Jared does such a high quality job on his videos. He had nothing to do with those at all. That was all just me, and I'm a terrible videographer and editor. I'm far better with sound, but those were I occasionally go back and look at those and think, wow, I should have taken a class before I started trying to put videos together.
The thing is, though, okay, how good of quality could they have been for getting
That's
essentially
true.
a dash cam and having to deal with background music or noise and road noise and all that stuff?
Yeah,
I'm
that
just
was
kind of surprised that during one of the recordings you didn't like someone flip you off or cut you off or something like that.
You know, I did during one of the videos. I can't remember which one. I run a red light. I'm in the middle of talking.
Oh,
and
really?
I just drive straight through a red light, and fortunately, no one was there. Nobody got hurt or anything. But I'm in the middle of making a point about what actor was good, and Seth turns to me and he's like, "You just ran a red light." So be careful, kids.
God.
Don't YouTube.
Yeah,
and
that was very beginning, kind of good old days and whatnot. And I mean, believe me, my stuff was not of great quality. I've went back and rewatched it. I mean, we both had to start somewhere, obviously. Getting used to being on camera, getting used to be just kind of talking.
Yep. Yeah, it takes. That's the thing that I learned in doing the podcast and the videos, and I know you would agree, is like if you wait until it's going to be perfect, you never will do one. And so you just have to go up and try it once and then continually get better over time. It's the best way to get good at anything, really.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing is like, I mean, hell, the first few episodes of this, I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I still don't, but I like just asking random hypothetical questions and whatnot. So that's what this show's turning into.
Oh, yeah. It's good. When you start realizing that your show has a personality, it's really fun to eventually steer into that. Seth and I have gotten to that point where we know what attitude our show has, and it's fun to kind of play in that little world.
Yeah, and definitely someone that listens every week. You guys switched up, get new bits, new concepts, new sounders. Sounders are the thing that puts, because your podcast, again, I don't want to sit here and just be like, oh, your podcast is so good. That your podcast is the first one that I ever had listened to that actually had sounders and essentially segments. Like all these other ones were just conversation based.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just so happened that the ones that Seth and I were listening to were styled like that. Like we essentially ripped off every podcast we like.
Yeah.
And but we've heard that not a lot of shows have sounders, and I've heard that in other shows. Now I know that that's true. But to us, it seemed like an automatic thing. Every podcast should have those. So it's funny that that's kind of become our unique thing, is the thing that we thought we had to do to fit in.
Yeah. No, that's cool because, again, like what this show's turning into is exactly what I listen to. It's just them answering questions the whole time. So that's what I like. But on our previous episode, we just kind of talked about the podcast. We talked about just a bunch of random questions, kind of what, how you guys started, the troubles and stuff you run into. But this is just an episode for yourself, and you are a stand-up comedian. Like, I want to dive more into that because, again, I have thrown this idea around a bunch of times that I want to do this, blah, 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 but maybe stage fright or whatnot. But, like, where did you start? Kind of, did you always want to do comedy? Kind of give a bit of the insight into kind of where you started, because in like high school or something, were you out for like speech, play, musical, anything like on stage to kind of get that performance skill?
That's actually one of the things that I regret is I was not an arts kid in college or in high school or in college, really. I was not an arts kid. I was an athlete, and in my small town at that time, it wasn't a very manly thing to do to like be in the place. And so I avoided it for that reason, but I wanted to. Yeah. And I've always loved stand-up comedy ever since I was growing up. Like I laugh at this now, but my parents and I and my brother would sit down. It was like an event in our house when they did the Blue Collar Comedy Tour on Comedy Central.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The whole family sat
Iowa,
in there.
Man.
Oh, it was amazing. And that was like some of the earliest comedy I remember was that, which is so weird. And I got into watching stand-ups and continued to do that all through high school. The first stand-up I was a huge fan of was Aziz Ansari, and Seth and I came across him during the later part of our high school years, and then after graduation went to see him live. It was my first big live comedy show, and I was like, this looks awesome. And so I was taking in as much comedy as possible, and I always tell people, like, the reason I'm a comic is because I'm an asshole. And
you're a polite asshole.
Yeah, and the thing that makes me an asshole is if I watch anything long enough, I start to get the idea that I could do it. Right? I'll watch something like, better. Oh yeah, I could maybe do that, and I could probably do better than that guy. And that's what it was. I was like, I could do that as good as Aziz, or I could do that as good as whatever other comic. And over time, when you start getting that bug, you start kind of writing bits down and thinking, okay, could this be a joke? And you start to build up a little bit of a backlog. And then one day, I finally, for whatever reason, the bug just bit me, and I got up on stage in an open mic and did pretty well enough to get stuck. And then, off and on since then for, I guess that was 4 years ago. Off and on kind of in stints. I've been doing it ever since, and it's something that, I don't know, you fall for it quickly, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Again, I haven't done actually like stand-up, but any sort of thing, just making something, being creative. That's kind of surprising going back to how you didn't have that essentially outlet in high school, because that's kind of how I fell into all of this was, I'm not good at sports. I'm not built for sports. I'm built for this other thing because my mind won't stop. Yeah. So it's kind of like you wanted to, but you couldn't. Yeah. But I feel like obviously Dub H was an outlet for that.
That was the first big one. That was the first real creative outlet that I had in my life. And as much as anybody, I dove all the way into that. That was my identity in college. I was finally an artist, and so that was pretty fun. That's the cool thing about college. You get away from your town and what it thinks, and you can kind of do whatever you want. And yeah, that was the biggest thing for me, was finally being able to have a creative outlet, share it with people, and get to be seen by crowds. Because whether it's dancing or acting or doing comedy or singing or whatever, I just love attention. So however I can get it, get me on a stage.
Because I mean, when I was out there recently, we went and did karaoke. You loved being up there.
Oh yeah.
You did, again, going back to Dub H, you did the MC duty for a few shows as well.
Yep. Yeah. I have no hesitation in telling people I love attention, and I get that people don't love that, but I do. Like, however I can get on a stage, I'm about it.
Hey, I mean, obviously, yeah, for comedy, doing stand-up, that probably definitely helps. But going back, you said you've done it for 4 years. Like, was that? Yeah. Did you go up, completely stop, and then go up in a couple weeks? Or you're like, oh man, this is like a weekly thing. Maybe I need to seek out more shows per week. Yeah. I know that, again, in Iowa, because that's where you were, it's probably tough to find multiple shows a week.
Yeah, so when I was in Iowa, I was going up weekly, like religiously every week, was going up once for like 5 minutes, and I did that really consistently for 6 months or so. And I don't remember why I petered off. I don't know if I hit some writing stumbles, or I probably got a girlfriend or something, and
I was just gonna say probably the girlfriend.
Yeah, and just kind of faded off of it. And then a few months would go by, and I'd go, I'm going to go to another open mic. And I'd kind of spotty go here, go there. And never got as regularly into it as I was at the beginning. And then when I moved out to Oregon, it was just kind of the way I decided I was going to go try to make some friends. And I'll go up on, at the open mic and see if I can meet some comics. And it worked. Met my girlfriend that way, met most of my friends here that way, and have had a little bit of success here in Bend, at least getting work. So it's been good to me. But yeah, it's been not consistently, but it's been 4 years. It probably totals like around a year of like regularly going to mics. But it's different. Like you said, you go up once, maybe twice a week. I have, I think, 3 opportunities to get up per week here at open mics, and you got to really focus on that time because it's not as much as you'd get in the big city to work on bits or whatever.
And I'm sure that like any skill, it's probably, you know, like the more reps you get, the better you're getting, the more kind of comfortable you're on stage. I guess I'm kind of curious now. Okay, so I was out there 6 months ago, and that was the first time I saw it, and I was like, damn, this guy, like I was borderline envious, proud, like it was this weird thing because watching you, I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. But you said like the community kind of getting into it, meeting friends and whatnot. How is the community for stand-ups? Is it kind of like cutthroat where it's like you're fighting for shows, stealing jokes, or is it just like, hey, I'm just drunk, I'm going to go up and do my thing?
Yeah, so where I am in Bend, Oregon, it's a small community, it's a tight-knit community, and we're all really good friends. And so that's really nice. Everyone's supportive. Everyone gets stoked for each other when we book. Often we'll go to each other's shows even when we're not also on them and root each other on. And I don't know, it's kind of our social scene. What I do know, though, is that there are communities where it's tougher and more competitive. You hear that about LA, Chicago, New York, the big cities. It's kind of cutthroat, and there is joke stealing, and there is people ripping each other off and all those things. Luckily, I'm not in one of those communities, and I don't want to be. I love doing comedy, but I'm not going to fight someone over it. Like, I don't know. For whatever reason, that seems so silly to me that people are going at each other over stuff like that when everyone should just be friends because comics are hilarious people and everyone should want to hang out with them.
Yeah. And that's the thing is you should, I mean, again, you know, some people are going to have better opportunities and whatnot, but just be happy for everyone because, I don't know, you're just making people laugh. But I think it's pretty cool that you, again, it's not like you're making a living off of it, but you've been paid for this skill that you just had, I guess.
Yeah,
or
some of my most delicious lunches have been paid for by cash from shows. I will tell you, it's very rewarding.
Delicious lunches. Hey, give me an extra side. I earned it.
I will take guacamole on that burrito, sir.
You know what? I will today. I'm kind of curious. Okay, I've only seen you do a stand-up once or twice now. Now, material. How is your kind of process of coming up with stuff? And do you try to, like, hey, every month, every 2 months, you try to come up with new bits?
So what's been lucky for me is funny shit just keeps kind of happening to me. And
Please elaborate.
I think that's the case for everybody. And that's why I think everyone, if they want to, can do stand-up. Because if you pay attention to your life and really think about any of the stuff that you do, really think about it, it's all hilarious. And that's why so many comics can do so many different things. And there's always enough material to go around because life is always hilarious. My stuff is almost all autobiographical. I'm telling stories that are mostly true about things that really happened or some obviously dramatized version of it. But that kind of like, here's a funny thing that happened to me once. And yeah, I'll punch it up with, I'll sit down with a pen and, see if I can get creative about the way I'm saying things. But the subjects kind of just come. And if you're paying attention to the world around you, it's so easy to find a ton of things to write jokes about. And then how you go about writing them and delivering them is a whole different story. But in finding material, it's easy. You just got to pay attention, really.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, is just like, take a step back, look at your life, and look at the dumb, crazy shit that's happened, and you just have to laugh about it. Have you, I guess, kind of how much did you, like, starting off, did you write a lot more? How much time do you put into essentially the prep work?
It's gotten to be a little easier for me over time. I used to spend quite a bit more time. I would say, okay, here is a premise that I want to write a joke about, or here's a punchline I thought of. Let's find a place for us to put it. And would sit down and really write out, okay, I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to pause, and then I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to do this voice. And it used to be that I would really script everything out, and that's how I needed to write. Now, though, I know what my comedic voice is. I understand my own timing and how I'm supposed to sound, so I don't need to think about all those stylistic things. So I just essentially, I'll know what punchline I want to arrive at, and I can just sort of back out the setup And it all kind of happens naturally. I don't know. Maybe I'm lucky in that regard, but just the way that I just naturally talk and tell a story seems to set up well for punchlines. And so I don't spend as much time writing as I used to because I know what my voice is. And I know that's something that you and I have talked about in just like doing your reviews. You used to write every word of your reviews out, but then you get used to your own voice and you start thinking, okay, I can just kind of do this on the fly. So I do a lot more of that now than when I started, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like you just said, you found your voice, and I mean, comparing it to my reviews, yeah, I only write down or make up skits now because everything else, it's like I know what I'm going to say. I know how to. Sometimes there's a lot more stumbles than whatnot, but yeah. Would you say, like, going back to, I mean, you said you found your voice. Would you say that Aziz Ansari was kind of what you were basing on, or kind of your your beginning inspiration?
100%. That was, and you can even go back to some of my earliest. I record every set. They're under.
God,
they're
you
probably
gotta release that, man.
There's so much tape. Oh my gosh, I just had to get an external hard drive actually for some of it because I'm that way. I'm so hyper self critical and self analytical that I gotta rewatch every set I do, and so I have some of my earliest stuff and. Some of the punchlines, and to this day I do it a little bit, but some of the punchlines and my cadence are directly ripped off from Aziz Ansari. Like, not the words, not what they are, but the way he says things and the way he would hit some punchlines, especially in that first special of his, Intimate Moments for a... Oh my gosh, I don't remember the rest of that title. That makes me so sad. And Intimate Moments for a Sensual Evening. That's what it is.
There we go. Yep.
Some of the punchlines he hits in that, and then you just say different words to the same rhythm, and that was me for a little bit of time. And some of that remains, but he was definitely my primary influence for sure.
Did you even go as far as to like draw out his your S's and whatnot, like he kind of does?
No, I don't. It was the thing that he does is he'll like give you the punchline, but like with disbelief. So like if the punchline was Kylo Ren, he'd be like, Kylo Ren, and then he'd go into like a quick thing about explaining why that's ridiculous. And that was all of my stuff at one point, and still some of it, but that was definitely, you could see that influence early on.
Yeah. That's awesome that you kind of fit. I mean, obviously everyone's gonna be a borderline inspiration. I wouldn't say copy if someone's starting off, but then you kind of find your groove and whatnot. But for that 4-year period, has there been kind of stuff that really hasn't worked? Like you went up, I wouldn't say bombed exactly, but just it just did not work. You thought it was funny, and just no one did think it was funny. Yeah,
the thing that's interesting about that is you can bomb. I have some jokes that are gold to me. I like if I for my life needed to get a laugh, these are the jokes I would tell. Even those jokes bomb in some rooms. Every room has its own character, its own sense of where the lines are, its own sense of how generous they're going to be and how much they're going to make you earn. And you never really know until you're in the middle of a set how anything is going to go. So I have jokes that I love and I tell every week that once or twice have just totally farted in front of the whole crowd. And you start to learn how to read a crowd, I think, is what that teaches you, but also just persistence, because if every time I did shitty, I beat myself up about it, it would be exhausting. Ask any comic, they have far more bombs than they have great shows, and I'm sure even the greats would tell you something similar.
Is it a thing where, say that joke you love, it kills every now and then, but then when it does bomb, essentially, do you have like this weird flow chart where like if X happens, this happens? So like if it bombs, do you have a quick follow-up or something? Yeah, I have a couple of jokes like that. And by repetition, you kind of start to know which of yours are the more risky ones and which are the more reliable. And for the ones that are risky, you want to be able to pick it up afterwards if it doesn't go the way you wanted. So I've got a couple of those like bailout streets, which is kind of fun. And then, some comics, and no hate, some comics will, if a joke bombs, they'll like, really? You guys don't think? And then come on, what?
Yeah,
that's funny. I know it is. My mom said so.
Some will do that, and often it sounds like douchebaggery, but some people can do that and get away with it, and it's hilarious to watch a crowd like submit to a person who's just like pushing them into laughing. Like some comics can do that. That's never been my style, but you got to be ready for a joke not to go well, because for me, every joke that I tell depends on something from before it. That's just the way that I write my set. So if one thing doesn't go well, I have to make sure that the audience at least remembers the part I need them to remember, because that joke was probably a setup for my next thing. So that flow chart is a really good way of putting it. Like if they laugh at this joke, then they're more likely to laugh at this joke. So you can kind of steer your way around, which is it's so fun. Like people don't realize you don't just go up there and be funny. It's like very technical, and I'm a numbers technical dude. And that scratches that itch 100%.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's not one of those things. It's like, okay, I wrote this, I know this, I go up and do it. You have to borderline make little tiny changes on the fly, depending on, it's probably different every single night, even though it's the exact same set.
Yep. That's one of the things that's so fun. Like you, like all the great comedy specials that people love, you can rewatch them, and you think that was the act, but that is just the version of the act that you saw that one night. And you can go, I've gone to several comics more than once. I've watched multiple sets more than once. You can hear the same joke on a different night and have it be funny in a different way. And that's what's cool, is you're only ever getting just that little bit of time, and it's unique. It's similar often, but never quite the same as any show before it.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious. Obviously, you're doing a lot of the essentially same sets. Do you ever get just tired of it and you're going through the motions, like, oh, okay, now it's time for X joke or this joke, and I wouldn't say lose the passion for it, but do you just kind of get sick of your own material every now and then?
Oh, definitely, yeah. And what sucks is the person, nobody wants to go hear the same stand-up set every night for a month, but that's what you have to yourself do as a comic. You have to be listening to your own joke every night, and there's some of my stuff I get sick of, but it's, you got to commit to it. It's the same way that, like, an actor has to show up and pretend to be, in love on a day where he's not, or whatever. Even on the days when you're not feeling it, you kind of just got to put on for that 20 minutes. And it can feel pretty good even when it's tough. But there are definitely sets that I have phoned in, and that never makes you feel good. So for me, it's far easier to, pound an IPA and get up there and gut it out. And usually feels a lot better at the end of it, no matter what mood you had going in, especially if the crowd works. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned like drinking a little bit. Do you use sports enhancing drugs before, alcohol, drugs, any sort of thing before you go up, or do you like to go up a little bit clean? I've
played around with this because comedy's always been a really social thing for me. And so oftentimes that's when I go have beers with my friends, is while we're doing comedy. And I never wanted to be dependent on a buzz to feel good on stage. And so a lot will go up sober just to prove that I can do it. Because I never wanted to be that guy that had to be drunk to be funny. And now that said, I would say most shows that I do, sort of my rhythm is I'll have one beer before my show, and then I'm allowed to have one beer during a show, but never more than that. Because if I'm drunk, then I'm slurring and forgetting lines, and it's not, I couldn't be as funny as I am if I was drunk. And there's a lot of line remembering and things that a shit-faced person couldn't do. And some people get hammered and are great, and some people have to stay sober, and it's great too. For me, it's somewhere in the middle. If I can get a nice light buzz on from like a pint of IPA, then I'm fucking ready to roll, man. That's me. That's peak performance, Cody.
That's good because hell, again, I've only been to a handful of open mics and whatnot, and I've never gone out, but I've seen a whole wide range, someone drinking water all the way to someone that literally, you haven't a damn clue what they're trying to convey to the audience, and it's a train wreck. Yeah,
you got to be, there's a lot of comics that people see that part of their act is that they're drunk on stage, right? Ron White is a big one that people will remember.
Yep.
Those comics aren't really that drunk most of the time. Most of the time, that's an act, at least a part of it. And I have one comic friend here in town who that's his act, and he does it brilliantly. And because a drunk person can be funny, but like I said, if you're slurring your words and people can't understand what you're saying, it's impossible to be funny. So to be able to have a good drunk act is a really good thing to be able to do as a comic. But the people who get up there and are actually tanked on stage, it almost never goes well. It's exhausting for the audience to try to pay attention.
Yeah, I can only bet. It's definitely almost like, I wouldn't say your thing, but it's almost this like persona you put on, because it's like, oh, okay, well, he's halfway through this whiskey. How many more has he had before this? And he can kind of say these borderline touchy subjects a little bit more, and the audience is probably going to go with it, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially if you're letting on that you're under the influence, then yeah, you can get away with things that a sober person speaking totally honestly wouldn't be able to. But yeah, it's a total, and it's brilliant to me. I love it. I think it's really smart, and it's, comedy is manipulation at the end of the day. So if you can do that with a prop, like a half and let you in on an industry secret, Jared. Oftentimes that's just apple juice. With some
that's
ice
what I
cubes
had
in
heard.
It. Yeah. So if taking a cup of apple juice up on the stage with you gets you a few extra laughs, then awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I was gonna say apple juice or a giant watermelon, either or. Whatever you're into, or Carrot Top and all of his props and whatnot. I'm kind of curious because, again, I from the few times I've seen you do it and kind of your personality and whatnot, do you think, and I don't want this to go into a 30-minute conversation, but do you think that there's certain things that you can't make fun of? There's certain things, or do you think that it's not what I'm trying to say for cancel culture, but it's like, can you make fun of anything and everything as long as you have the right tone or outlook, I guess?
I think so. I think that if you are if you're truly a good comic, and sometimes if you're a great comic, then you can write a joke about anything and it can be funny. And there's a lot of subjects that are hard to talk about, people don't want to hear about, that are considered too vulgar or whatever, but like the English language is such that like you can describe the act of oral sex in 1,000 different ways, and in some of them you could send that right over the head of like a 10-year-old kid and they would have no idea because you used an analogy of a hot dog or whatever. And so whatever it is, something as, to some grotesque as a blowjob, if you can say it in a way that is cute and digestible and hilarious to a 10-year-old, then you're a great comic. And you can take that with any, Me Too was a big one that like people think you shouldn't be able to joke about. Well, you can, you just have to be really careful and really good, because what I always think about with this is the risk versus reward of telling some of those jokes. If you want to go at a subject that you know is touchy and you know is controversial, then the potential reward for you is a big laugh, right? But the potential risk for you is potentially a lot worse. And so if you're going to go in with a joke, you have to be really confident in it. You have to really be careful about how you're saying, what you're saying, and you have to make sure that it's funny. Because if it's not funny, if you're funny, no one's ever going to dig into your jokes and cancel you. But if you're not, that gives people the free, it gives them the freedom to analyze your joke instead of just laughing at it.
Yeah.
And so
it gives them a borderline reason to dive into it.
Yeah. So you can joke about anything, but just be careful and be smart about how you do it. That's my opinion, because people who are offended by jokes, I think, are entitled to taking offense. I think everyone gets to decide when they're offended. So it's a comedian's job to minimize the people offended and maximize them laughing. And so for a comic to be like, you guys are all just weak and that's why you won't let me talk about this subject, I think that's you being a baby. You're not a good comic if you're dependent on those things. So I don't know. That makes me like a half comics comic and a half PC police. And that's probably how I describe where I sit on all that.
I do kind of like how you said that there's kind of this risk and reward to it and whatnot, but oh God, where was I going to go with this? You were in a roast battle, for example, and you won that, right?
Yeah. That was such a weird experience.
The thing is, how personal did you have to get with these jokes, or did you just, kind of point out obvious things. I mean, honestly, it's very easy. Were these a lot of white people? Because it's pretty easy to make fun of white people.
Yeah. They're all white. Actually, no. One of the guys was some sort of mixed. I don't know if I describe him as white, but anyway, it was roasts are fun because you don't have to really insult the other person to get the crowd to laugh. Right. And I think that's the reason why a room of comics who respect each other and like each other can do a roast and not hurt each other's feelings, because you're not really attacking the other person. You're just trying to make the crowd laugh. And so it's all this, it's like WWE. It's like, we're going to hurt each other for the pleasure of everyone watching. And so when people go into it that way, because you say some nasty things, it's a lot of things about appearance. It's a lot of things about people's genitals. Like I hate it. Honestly, my pathway to that roast battle, it was a tournament style. The first person I went against, I called them fat. The second person, I called her fat and said that her vagina was disgusting. And then the last guy, I told him he had a small penis. Like that was mainly, I was much more creative about all this, but that's what I did.
The basic, what you break it down, that's exactly kind of the small thing you made fun of, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't love doing that. I don't love attacking people. But I do love making people laugh. So it's a weird intersection where I don't think I would describe myself as a roast comic. But things went well for me on that one night, and those people are all my friends, and they make fun of me and say nasty shit about me. And I don't know. Roasts are fun. I think I like them, but it's a weird feeling to me to be, attacking folks. I don't know. I like it and I don't know how to say.
Now a word from our sponsors. Do you want to start investing but haven't a clue where to begin because of the high commission fees and intimidating financial jargon? Well, look no further, because Robinhood is here to save the day, the commission-free investing app. With Robinhood, you are able to trade stocks, funds, options, and even cryptocurrency. And with no commission fees, no minimums, no velvet rope to get started. They even offer fractional stock trading for those of you on a budget. Many young people wait far too long to start investing, so why not start today? Either to prepare for retirement or gain a few extra schmeckles for a fun weekend vacation. Right now, if you sign up using the download code below or in the description, you will be gifted with a stock from Apple, Ford, Facebook, or many others absolutely free. Don't wait until tomorrow, because today is the best time to start. Investing should be free and easy, and now it is with Robinhood. Do you love to read but simply cannot find the time to enjoy your favorite books? Or, did you actually forget how to read? Well, try Audible today. Audible is the world's largest seller and producer of audiobooks and other spoken word entertainment, enriching the lives of millions of listeners every day. With their customer-centric approach to technological innovation and superior programming, Audible has reinvented a media category and is the driving force behind today's audio entertainment revolution. And if you sign up today, you can enjoy a 30-day free trial, which includes 1 audiobook and 2 Audible originals absolutely free. Simply click the link in the description of this video to get signed up and enjoy unlimited audio entertainment with Audible. Now, back to the show. Yeah. You comparing it to this like WWE almost, it's like you're putting the show on for the people. There might be a little bit of feelings behind it, but at the end of the day, you're all friends and whatnot.
Absolutely.
You had mentioned, again, you had met your girlfriend through this. She's also a stand-up comedian. I'm just gonna ask this one question and then I'll drop it. Who's funnier?
I am, of course. It's not close. It's not close. I say that mostly because I can prevent her from hearing this podcast, so I'm never going to have to pay for that.
You're going to, hey, listen to this, and this part just, like, cuts off.
Yeah, it's just a beep.
That was a weird cut.
No, it's funny because we often get to work together, which is fun. And we get the who's funnier comparison a lot. And the truth is, sometimes it's her and sometimes it's me. It depends on the night, depends on the crowd. Our styles are so different that we can both do really well for the same crowd, and so we can work a lot of the same. It would be rare and difficult for us to like be competing for the same spot. Usually, people want to book someone who's me, or you would want to book a 23-year-old white girl. Like usually you have one preference over the other when you're booking. So it's not like we're both trying to fill the same spot, which is helpful.
Yeah, that's cool that, there's, like, again, you going back to it, comedy, there's so many different styles, so many different people and whatnot. I mean, what's his name? Bo Burnham or whatever. Like, you, Seth and you both showed me him. He like created a new genre of comedy almost.
Yeah, his stuff is entirely unique. And you can see how meticulous his stuff is. I'm so jealous of his writing and his attention to detail and how he uses all the senses, or at least, visual and audio in different ways than other comics do. I wish I could say he was one of my influences, but I don't have in me what he does. So I'm just a big fan of his for sure.
I would love to see someone, again, he's fairly new for that style, but I'm curious if there's someone out there that's very much like taking inspiration from him, doing this wacky shit off the walls at these like open mics.
I hope so. I've met some people who are musical. I've met some people that tell jokes in different ways, and I think that's awesome. I love creative. I'll say gimmick, but I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, I love an entirely unique experience, and you're starting to see more of that. There's some stand-up specials that have some unique aspects. Neil Brennan's Three Mics is one that I really like that's got a unique premise. You have some of these guys that are just doing topless fucking, I can't remember the comic's name.
Bert whatever.
Yeah, it just does all of his stuff topless, which is hilarious. Yep. And anything to be unique. I love it all. Some people say that like it's hacky or whatever to have a gimmick, but I love it. I think it's what people will remember about your show. And Carrot Top has had a Vegas show for however long he's had, and he's a gimmick comic. So I think every comic would be lucky to have the success he's had.
Exactly. I mean, right there, an example, you're like, that guy, the shirtless guy. We don't know his name, but you know the guy.
Yeah, couldn't tell you any of his jokes, but I'd recognize him if he walked by me. I was like, hey, you're the shirtless comic.
Yeah. Getting to the end of this, like, obviously right now it's pretty much just a hobby, you've been paid for it, but if you were to just boom overnight, make it big and whatnot, you dropping everything and pursuing this?
It would take a lot. I would love to be able to do that. I would love for comedy to be my job. The problem that I have is I have a day job also that I really like, and that I have a really nice lifestyle based on the job that I have, and I really like having comedy as my hobby. I think the level that I'm at right now is one that I'm happy with, at least for now. Obviously, if someone offered me a Netflix special or something, I'm going to go do that shit. But, and I think that helps me stay calm and stay humble and say, like, my dream is not to become the next Kevin Hart. I don't know. It keeps me loose because it's not necessarily like, I don't know. Maybe it's a bad thing that I have a nice day job to kind of lean back on, because for a lot of people, you say fuck the job. I don't know if anybody has done this, Jared, but some people just say fuck the job. I'm just going to go do the thing I love instead. And first, I like my job enough where that's not a thing I can just do. So for better or worse, my day job keeps me from really, really striking out and pursuing it. But if as big as I could get while keeping my job, at least until comedy afforded me the life that I have because of my job, that would be what would, I guess, cause me to kind of change gears.
Yeah, it's not going to be a thing where tomorrow you're just going to be like, fuck this, I'm doing this. And then it's like, oh, yeah, I am making $12 a week. What am I doing?
Yeah, it's a nice side gig, but comedy for me would be really tough for me to get by on ramen noodles again. I haven't had to do that since college, so not looking to dive back into that world. But it would be so fun. It'd be so fun to make it my job. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. So anyone that's out in the Oregon area, hit up Bend. Where have you ventured out much more to different shows?
Yeah, there's a few
towns, I guess.
A few towns around Central Oregon. I've been in Bend, Redmond. I'll be in Tumalo this month, and next month we'll be in Prineville for the first time, which are towns you'll only know if you live in my town. But a little Central Oregon regional action kind of going on.
Yeah, man, just spreading out there. Like, That's cool that you're not just sticking home to your essentially home place. You're getting all these essentially road shows and whatnot. Next stop, Portland, man.
Next stop, Portland. I would love to be a part of that scene. They have a great comedy scene up in Portland.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I got to get out there again and watch a couple shows and whatnot. That'd be fun.
Hell yeah. Got to get you up on stage.
So, what's that?
Got to get you up on stage.
I know. And see, that's my bad thing is I'm trying to do like 18 different things, and I finally listened to all of these different podcasts and stuff, and they're like, you need to focus on one. So I decided it's going to be YouTube, and then if and when that works, then I can start doing comedy. But I've written, oh my gosh, so many pages of stuff, but the bad thing is that stuff doesn't age well. So a lot of the stuff, and again, I feel like my comedy is borderline kind of like yours, where I've had so many stupid, crazy things happen in my life that I don't even have to write anything. I can just tell a story.
Yep.
So that's kind of like a lot of mine is, but then I'll throw in like a joke here or there. Again, I've only written it all. I wouldn't say a lot of my stuff, but quite a bit of it makes it into my reviews, surprisingly.
That's pretty nice. You can kind of repurpose some of that stuff. Yeah. That'll scratch some of the itch.
Definitely a thing is like, stand-up is more, live, I like things to be perfect in a weird roundabout way, so this whole videos and sketches and stuff kind of fits my personality.
Yeah. I want to ask you a quick question. I know we're going to wrap up.
Up.
So one of the things I love about comedy is you get immediate response. Like the second you tell a joke, you know how it went. So like, do you just, when you post something and you feel like, oh, I made a really great joke, do you just sit there and kind of like wait on someone to comment on it to get your feel goods? Like, do you sit and wait to watch numbers and stuff, or what? How do you get your feel goods when you have to sit and wait and you don't get to watch someone react?
There's two different ways. One happened the other day. I rewatched, like, I have to watch it 4 times before I get everything edited and in the right spot. I laughed at an intro every single time I rewatched it. So I was like, I know that's funny. I don't care if anyone else thinks it's funny. I know it's funny.
Yeah.
And then the other times I'll sit there and I have like a YouTube Studio app that shows me every time someone comments all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'll see, and a lot of people will say like, oh, great intro or funny intro and stuff. And I'm like, okay, great. But then again, I'm like, so did they just watch that 8 seconds and then that was the end of it?
Yeah.
I do like that immediate response because, again, diving back into Dub H, when he would perform in like the all guys dance, like fucking panties are flying on the stage, and I was eating that shit up. So I love when there is, okay, that sounded really wrong.
That's why they call him Jared the panty eater Buckendahl.
Nom, 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 nom.
Oh, wow.
Gross. I do like that immediacy, but unfortunately, yeah, that's the thing is that's not what I'm getting on YouTube. So I don't know.
Yeah, that would be strange. 'Cause if I tell a joke and it goes 2 or 3 seconds, I'm like, guys, I need my validation right now.
I mean, with your podcast, you're going back and forth with Seth, so there's jokes there and whatnot.
Yep.
But he's a tough critic on you.
He can be, and it's one of those things like that. We sort of tripped and fell our way into these characters that we are on the show, which are mostly us. But like certain aspects are dramatized. Like I'm a little more emotional during the podcast, and I think I am just during the day. And Seth is more critical of me than he honestly is, and so we have this nice little back and forth that ends up being it's a fun little sandbox for us to play in. But you're right, we have each other to bounce off of, so we don't really have to wait for the comments to see that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get into a few questions.
Yes.
So, Mission Impossible.
Okay, yes.
How or why, like a backstory, tell people why you love Mission Impossible, right?
I love Mission Impossible more than I love a lot of people in my life.
Now, why?
I think, okay, here's what I think it is. I've thought a lot about this. I think that something about Mission Impossible taps into, and I have some theories on what this is, taps into the part of my brain that is just the raw masculinity. And
Okay.
I'm not a real masculine guy, so it's weird because I don't like pump weights and like and like yell. I don't do that kind of stuff. But for whatever reason, Mission Impossible makes me feel like that guy. Like I could beat someone up if I'm watching Mission Impossible. And I think part of it is the theme song. Something about the rhythm and the dum 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 dum, especially when they do the Mission Impossible 2 guitar part. It rewires my brain and goes like, beat it up, like whatever. it worms into me and just makes me feel that way. And like I said, I'm not a really masculine guy. I don't like lift weights or anything like that. So anything that makes, honestly, this sounds so weird and I know it's sad, but they make me feel manly. Honestly, that's like what action movies. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, most action movies and like tough guy Schwarzenegger type movies, that's what they are supposed to do. And Mission Impossible just does it for me better than anything else. Like I would run through a brick wall after I got done watching Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Absolutely.
Well, where did the love come from? Like, did you watch them when you were younger, or did this come out of nowhere? Like,
yeah, I saw.
Backstory, I guess.
I saw. So my dad is a big reason why I have most of my taste for movies. Actually, we would watch a bunch of stuff like on TBS and TNT, like at the time like the premium cable movie channels that you didn't have to pay extra for. Like that's where we would catch a lot of like old Tom Cruise movies and old action movies. That's how I saw the Rambos and the Rockies and the Godfather was on like TBS or not. TNT, is that TNT? Nose Drama, yeah.
Yeah.
a lot of them were on that, and I don't know, something about I connect watching Mission Impossible and like my dad with masculinity, and I think it just ties up some weird part. My therapist could probably tell you, but they go back, and then as I aged. The same is true for James Bond also. So and Star Wars. Star Wars, perfect example of this. I grew up thinking like these were the heroes, right? Like if I lifted weights and drank milk, I could grow up into these guys. And I obviously didn't. But then whatever that activates in your head, and then now as an adult man, to be continuing to go to the same source to get that little, I don't know, boost, that jolt of whatever that energy is it's reliably always makes me fucking hyped. Like ask Seth about anytime we go to Mission. Well, you went with us to Fallout, and like
yeah, oh my god, like I knew that you liked Mission Impossible. I knew that you liked Tom Cruise, but this was a whole different level.
Yeah, it is. I can't explain. It's like how people have phobias. Like if someone's unreasonably afraid of like a tiny spider, right? Which I have too. Whatever the equivalent of that is in my brain, like that activates some shit that I don't know, but I give into it, and it's so much fun for me. So I steer into it.
So okay, from those movies, is that why you love Tom Cruise so much?
Yeah.
Or you only love Tom Cruise in those movies?
I love him all the time.
Okay.
But to me, all of his characters are just Tom Cruise, right? So if I watch A Few Good Men, I'm like, oh, what's Ethan Hunt going to say to Jack Nicholson in this one? Like, he's just singular. He's like Denzel Washington or Sam Jackson. Like, you can tell me he's got a different name and a different backstory, but that's just that fucking guy. You know, that's Tom Cruise for me.
Yeah. Did you? Okay, I don't know how reliable this backstory is, but okay, I remember seeing Tom Cruise in Top Gun for the first time because my grandpa had that VHS and we watched all the time. So I guess that there was a backstory of when they were shooting that. Obviously, they used real jets and whatnot, and they were in accordance with the Air Force and whatnot, and they were like teaching them how to train and whatnot. And I guess Tom Cruise kept moving like the actual joystick and clicking buttons, and he almost like fired rockets and shot machine guns, and they were like, you need to stop, like knock that shit off. Like they basically had to like tie his hands down because he kept pushing the buttons. And now in this new one, he's fucking flying the jet.
He is flying the jet, and that's Tom Cruise. I get pumped up the whole like real stunts thing that Tom Cruise does. It pumps me up, but I don't know. It seems like going a little far there, Tom. He seems like he could rely on the tech teams to make it look like he's doing some of that stuff. But I say great, man. If dude wants to get into a helicopter with a camera and crash that shit, I'm all for it, dude. Like I said, I'm going to get revved up when I see it. So as long as he's physically okay, then great.
Do you want him to make Mission Impossible? Do you want him to die during a Mission Impossible movie?
I think that he wants to die making a Mission Impossible movie. Every time he makes one, he's like, shit, I gotta go do it again now. And I really hope not. I don't think that should be the cost of entertainment at all. I don't even think he should be risking what he already is risking. But people get revved up about it, so he's just gonna keep doing it, man.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he's a crazy man. I guess he could be cured from Scientology. Who knows what the power of that goofy religion is?
I don't know what they teach him except for how to be great at acting.
Yeah, apparently
everyone I know who's a Scientologist.
Yeah, maybe that's the secret. Who knows?
Yeah.
I do have a question from Seth
Okay.
over on Twitter. He says, because again, he knows what you like. Who would win in a fight, Ethan Hunt or Spider-Man? Because to the fans out there, viewers, you love Spider-Man just as much, right?
Spider-Man is my guy. Yeah, he is. I've dressed up as him for Halloween probably 12 or 13 times.
Wow.
I'm 28 years old. one of them was this year.
Still, that's awesome. Hey, you like a character.
I do. I love me some Spidey. There's a whole nother hour probably about why Spidey is my favorite. Anyway, who would win in a fight? It would probably be Spider-Man. Dude's got super strength. Hunt would put up a good fight for sure, but he is just a man. Like, he can be killed, I think. I guess I don't know.
I don't know. We've seen some crazy shit. Like, he broke half his leg and just kept running. So
that's true. If our camera's gonna watch, because then I might take Tom Cruise because he seems to be invincible when cameras are on. But no, I'd have to go with Spidey. Dude's got super strength. You can't. You know, what's Tom gonna do? The guy's got super strength. I guess he could shoot him. I don't know.
Yeah, I wish we had one of those like Spike TV Greatest a Warrior or whatever, where they put up like a Viking versus a Spartan, but do that with Ethan Hunt and Spider-Man.
Man, if I could be a producer on that show, it would still be on. That'd be amazing.
Because I mean, actually, I think YouTube they do something like that, because wasn't there like a Iron Man versus Darth Vader or something? There was something crazy.
Yeah,
like that.
there's a whole series of those. I can't remember the channel, but they do a really good job of putting them together with some effects and things. But I want more obscure than just superhero versus superhero. I want like Nelson Mandela versus Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like, I want all the crazy ass matchups. That's
12 rounds of boxing. See who goes down. Celebrity death match, but real life.
Oh yes, I keep hearing that they're going to bring that back. So
I've been hearing that for a while. I don't know. I mean, obviously it's going to happen, but I'm curious on when and how intense it's going to be, because I remember, was that on Adult Swim?
I want to. It might have been Adult Swim. I want to say like Spike TV or MTV.
Okay. Yeah, I remember catching it. I was like, why are these cartoon claymation people beating the hell out of each other?
Oh my god!
But like, it got borderline adult too.
Yeah, the blood and people's intestines getting pulled out. I hope they go even harder at this one. Like, I think it could be really fun if they're doing it, but who knows? It seems like so hard, and all the likenesses and things. Like, you'd have Ariana Grande suing people because she's choking people to death with her ponytail on Celebrity Deathmatch.
Yeah.
Like, it would be tough to do, but I hope they bring it back.
If anything, I'd be honored to be on that show.
Oh yeah.
Okay, here's a funny hypothetical one. So you get $1 million.
Okay.
But every time for the rest of your life, every time you sneeze, you teleport anywhere in the world. Do you take that $1 million?
Yeah.
Think about it. You're out to eat. You sneeze, you wind up in the jungle, you wind up in Antarctica, you're on a date, you're in a movie, you sneeze.
If I sneeze a second time, do I go back to where I came from, or do I go to another random location?
I'll say another random location.
See, okay, that's pretty difficult.
Because then you could just pack pepper in your pocket.
Yeah, I don't know if I would do it then. That's pretty scary. Not having my location, not being able to trust my location would be pretty. And you might sneeze in your sleep and wake up. So I don't think I would take that $1 million. $1 million is a lot of money, but not that much money. Like, I need to know where I'm going to be when I wake up for sure. I changed my answer. I think no. I think I don't take the $1 million.
No go.
That's scary.
I think it'd be a hell of an adventure. But about 6 months in, especially like allergy season, or you got sick, it'd just be a bitch.
Yeah. Well, and $1 million is not. That's not like retire at 28 money. Like,
no,
I'm going to need to get a job at some point.
That's like going get a nice house, get a nice car, and go on a couple vacations.
Yeah, exactly. Like if it was $1 billion, I might have a different answer, but not for $1 million.
Okay, so this is okay. I'm gonna preface this. Okay, there's the best soup you've ever had. It's a 40-year-old soup, but it's the best soup you've ever had. Would you eat this soup?
Would I eat the best soup I ever had if it was 40 years old?
Yeah. Okay, I'm phrasing this very incorrectly. Okay, so say, oh God, okay. Fuck. Okay.
Is it the same bowl?
What?
Did it age 40 years and now I have to eat it again? Because that sounds like it might kill me.
No. Okay, this I'm going to tell you that because this is a real life thing.
Oh, okay.
So in Thailand, there's this family that like mom and pop shop that has been essentially cooking the same bowl or stew of soup for 40 years. But they're saying that it's the best soup you'll ever have, and people who have had it have said that it's the best soup they've ever had. Would you eat this soup?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would eat that. Yeah.
Even though that like essentially there's part of that soup that's probably 40 years old.
Yeah. As long as other people have already eaten it and I know it's not going to kill me immediately. If people say it's the best, I want to try fucking everything, dude. Like if someone comes up to me and says this is the best anything I've had in my life, I want to try that shit. So I would eat the soup. I would totally, as long as I could get some assurance that it probably wouldn't kill me. I want the soup. I had a really dope minestrone
I don't think
in
it's
like
gonna
2012,
kill you, but it
though.
definitely like I looked this up and they're like cooking it in this huge like vat essentially, but you can tell there's like this part that's like hanging off where they have the burner, and it's literally like crystallized all the spillover for 40 years and they've never cleaned it up.
Okay, that's gross.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
That's the thing. I'm like, people are saying it's good, it looks good, but then the where it's being cooked, it's like, I don't know about that. Like, what if something fell in there? What if someone sneezed?
Well, then they teleported away. So you don't got to worry about them anymore.
Okay, true. I'll allow that one. What's like a hidden gem of a movie? So like, what's a movie maybe from your childhood that you've watched throughout your whole life that you just think is obscure, something that no one has ever seen?
Gosh, I guess one of them would be, and I don't truly know how obscure this is, but I don't often hear people say that they know this movie. Ready to Rumble.
Oh yeah, I know that movie.
Yeah, it's about WCW wrestling. That's one of the favorites of Seth and I, because we're both into wrestling. But I don't hear a lot of people talk about that one. Gosh, I don't know what other.
They're going after the King, and then during the Royal Rumble, everyone switches on him or whatever.
Yep. Oh, that's a great, hilarious movie.
And then the end, the guy, what's his name? He's from Scream, I think. He turns into the
David
cop
Arquette
or whatever.
David Arquette. Yep.
Yep.
He actually went. He actually went into real WCW and was a wrestler for some amount of time. Yeah, that's true.
During that,
David Arquette did. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
I'm pretty sure he won the championship belt at one point.
What?
Yeah, no, for real. They did that. Like, it was weird. I don't know, but yeah, Ready to Rumble. That's one that I guess is pretty obscure. I don't know, but I watched a lot of the popular stuff growing up in the 90s. Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison was like, to me, legendary comedy that's unimpeachable, but everyone's seen those. Yeah, I don't know. I was a pretty mainstream kid. I don't think anything of mine was really out there. I was really into Barney, probably longer than most kids.
Good old Barney. And then I don't even know there's a yellow dinosaur and a green one. I don't know what the hell their names are though.
Yeah, I one of them might be Bebop. I'm not sure. Or I might be thinking of
Bebop and
Turtles.
Rocksteady.
Yeah, Bebop and Rocksteady. Oh, I love you.
Whoa, man, give me some pizza. I mean, obviously, you just kind of brought up comedy movies. Like, so what are some of your favorite comedy movies?
Oh God, Tropic Thunder.
There's too many. Tropic Thunder. Okay.
If someone asked me what comedy movie should I watch right this second, I would say Tropic Thunder. There's some parts of it that have aged in a way that is challenging. I will say some language and things that they use that aren't super 2020, but there is brilliant writing and brilliant comedic acting in that. Tom Cruise is incredible in his role. They get away. That movie 100% gets away with blackface. They have a character that entire fucking movie in blackface, and they got away with it, and it was hilarious. And that to me is like how that happens. How you did because you had to do such a perfect job at that. Otherwise, everyone's up in arms. But they nailed it, and even today, that is still hilarious. And for some reason, doesn't bother anybody. So I can't believe they got away with that. Tropic Thunder, A1.
I was curious if universally everyone kind of agreed that somehow, who knows how that movie was even fucking made, because again, like you're saying blackface, but also like the whole Simple Jack part too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's so not getting made today.
No.
But it's what I was talking about, dude. Like they know that they're in territory that is dangerous, but they handle it in a way that for whatever reason, and I don't know, I would be a rich and famous comic if I knew how to do this. They get away with it and they make it all funny. So that's brilliant. Anyone who wants to be a comic should watch that for some training, because there's brilliant that's hilarious stuff in there.
Yeah, I still, because wasn't Downey nominated for something too?
Best Supporting Actor nomination. Yeah.
Yes.
Crazy. For playing a character in blackface. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Some people would be like,
crazy.
"Oh, how uncool is that, Cody? Like that a person in blackface can be nominated for an Oscar." I'm like, no. Before I get upset about the racism of it all, I will get pumped about the comedy of it all.
I was just gonna ask you what your opinion on it was, but you did it there.
Yeah, they got away with it.
Yeah. So, okay, here's another random one. So you wander into a creepy library. Ooh, spooky. But then you pick up a book that says Cody on the front. You start reading it, realize it's your life.
Oh, crap.
Do you keep reading, find out how essentially the rest of your 40, 50 years go, but no matter what you do, you don't change, like that is set in stone? Do you read the book?
I probably do. I don't have restraint. Like I want to know what's gonna happen. I might not read all of it. I might just like read the last page, right? Just find out how I'm gonna die, maybe. But I would read. I would cheat. I think most people would. I would cheat and find out some stuff, because that would allow me to relax about some things. You know, like if I turn to the last page and it says, "And then you died in your mansion surrounded by a beautiful family," I'd be like, I guess I don't have to fucking worry about anything. You know, but on the contrary, I guess if it says he died in a gutter with a needle in his arm, I don't know. And knowing I couldn't change that
Jesus
would be
Christ, what happened in chapter 3?
Oh man, I would definitely read. I would.
Yeah, I think I would. I don't think I'd read it all, but I'm a big person where I hate surprises, because 75% of the time it's not something I want, so I have to fake be happy around the people that are trying to surprise me. So yeah, it would be like, okay, yay, this thing happened to me. Yeah.
I'm with you. I like a plan. I like knowing what's going to go on. I like to be able to get in the mindset for whatever event is happening. The last time I was actually surprised, you were there, and you saw how that went for me. For folks when I moved away from Iowa, a bunch of friends threw a surprise party, and Jared was there and a few other people, and I cried like a lot. I like not like a polite, nice cry. It was like a gross, like snotty cry. It was awful, and I didn't like that feeling.
Again, the thing is, from my perspective, that whole night, whoever planned it perfectly.
That was amazing. I feel so bad about that, because my ex-girlfriend did all that, and we're not together, and it's still a really nice memory, but I don't know. She probably is so pissed because we didn't go out for very long after I moved, and she did all that nice stuff for me. I think about that sometimes. Makes me feel guilty.
That's chapter 4, man.
Chapter 4. Dead in a gutter.
What is more terrifying, space or the ocean, and why?
The ocean.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think the ocean's noise, I think is what would put it over the edge, because most of the same risks exist. You could drown, or you could run out of air or whatever in space. You could float away to a place where you couldn't get brought back. But the ocean has a lack of visibility, which is a problem. It has the moving around without you really getting to decide what's going on. It has the noise, and it has monsters. There's monsters in the ocean. Not really any monsters in space, as far as anyone can tell. So yeah, ocean's far scarier, I think. Just keep me the hell away from the ocean.
After I wrote this down, I started thinking about it myself, and it's definitely the ocean, because just watching 47 Meters Down a couple years ago, for example, there's one scene where she has to like swim over this like literally just a drop off in the ocean, and I was like, that is the scariest thing ever, because it's just pitch black and you don't know what's down there. Again, I've never been to space, but from what I've seen in movies and whatnot, there you can see what's going on.
Yeah. It'd be hard for something to sneak up on you in space.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. You would know. And it's so peaceful and quiet. Like, I think I would love space. I really do.
The most terrifying thing about space, and it's in every movie and they get me, is when they're hooking on to something and then they aren't hooked on to anything and they're just free climbing or something.
Yeah.
That is the scariest feeling, because it's like, what if you sneezed and you just drifted away?
And you teleported to Saturn.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Maybe
would be
that's
scary.
when you would want that skill.
That would come in handy.
Or
that would
curse,
be,
I guess.
That would be one of the most horrible ways to die. It would be like drifting in space. It would be pretty terrible.
God.
But everything else about the ocean is far scarier to me. So
Yeah, no thank you. One last question, because I'm super hungry right now. What is the best pizza you've ever had?
It's not a very original answer, but I will say it is Giordano's Chicago deep dish pizza, downtown Chicago. I know it's cliche, but that is the only time I've ever eaten so much that I was in physical pain was Giordano's. I couldn't stand up straight. I very specifically remember that day, and I couldn't stand up straight because it hurt my stomach too much. And I don't eat very much. So Giordano's would be the one. It's the only one that sent me into a full like feeding frenzy. No pizza's ever done that.
That is some dense pizza.
Oh my God. You gained, they could have weighed me on the way out. I probably had gained 10 pounds. It was out of control.
Yeah, I had that for the first time about a year ago, and I was like, I think it was when I was in Chicago with Seth, and we had split a pizza, and I was like, holy shit, I can have maybe one or two of these. I cannot have three, and half the pizza was three, and we had to split it, and whew, hard to drink after, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, questions. I mean, that's kind of all I got. I don't have any more questions. But we're winding it down. Cody, do you have any final things? Hey, thank you so much for coming on to this show. It's been a while since planning this and finally got you on, and this was a great conversation. I guess anything final you got, and obviously plugs and whatnot, but then give some advice to people that are potentially watching this, listening to this, that want to get into stand-up.
Yeah. First, thanks for having me on. I was really stoked to get to do this. I don't know. I'm like the host of our show, and so to be the guest on someone else, it's so fun. I don't know. It's a different kind of thing. So I was really excited to get on and be able to do this with you. I would say, you have to, just like we were saying earlier, and no matter what it is, whether it's comedy or acting or dance or doing videos or singing or whatever, you're going to be bad at it for some amount of time, and you have to just forgive yourself the expectation of it being great from the start, and that will, I think, relieve enough pressure where you someday just have to have an extra beer or do something, whatever puts you over the edge, and just take the leap and do the thing for the first time. And every time after that, it will be easier and better, but the hardest one is the first one, and you just have to kind of dive into whatever it is. and you'll always be happy you did. No one who tries something and even if it goes poorly, no one's like, I wish I had never tried that, right? Unless it's meth, but that's a different.
Yeah, I was gonna say meth maybe.
Yeah, but whatever it is that thing is that you're like considering doing, just do it once. Just fucking do it. That's the advice, is say fuck it on some day and just start. And everything after that is way easier than the first step. My plugs, the SoCo Show, of course, that's our weekly podcast. And then I'm on Instagram at Cody is Funny. That's where I post a lot of my stand-up shows that are upcoming and things. So that's the best way to kind of keep in track of me. Those I would say are the big ones. If you're in Central Oregon, I'm all over doing comedy. So please check me out. Love to see you at a show. But yeah, I would say those are the big ones.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyone that's watching, listening, if you're out in the Oregon area, definitely go out, check them out, follow them on social media. The SoCo Show, weekly show, they also have a sports show. And are we going to get a second episode of the sketches anytime soon?
I don't know. We haven't, we've got some sketch ideas that have lied dormant for a while. And like I said, it's just going to take the one extra beer or something for Seth and I to go fuck it and put another one together, because we had a ton of fun doing that. Ask me in 5 years whether or not I believe in the quality of the comedy. I don't know, but it was a blast to put together, and we had a lot of laughs, so it was a ton of fun. So I hope we do it again sometime. It'd be really fun.
Yeah, I feel like those definitely take a bit more time, thought, recording, background noise, all that stuff. But no, definitely people that are listening, go check that out. Go check out the SoCo Show. All of the links and whatnot are going to be in the comments, or not the comments, the description down below. Cody, thank you again so much for being on. I got to get you and Seth on another episode in the future and literally just talk about like our childhood again, because what we did on anyone that's listening, go over and just become a JB or JBuck Patreon for 1 month and just listen to the last episode, because we talked about some just wacky childhood memories and it got weird.
It's funny, you forget how weird your childhood is until you like go back and reassess and think about, and a lot of the stuff that we have in common. That was a really fun. I would agree. I would second that endorsement. Go back and listen to that one.
Absolutely, yeah, and I that's the thing. I want to have a future episode where we just talk about, like, literally just go back and forth, deep dive into just the weird stuff. But yeah, that'll be a future episode. But again, Cody, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Everyone, follow their shit down below. But Cody, thank you so much, man.
Thanks, brother.